Welcome back, everyone. In this lesson, we're going to actually write a couple of stored procedures. One that's fairly simple, just to illustrate the structure, and the other one to actually do something with one of our databases. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, I've already gone and under the View menu, I've selected Template Explorer, which brings up this little guy right here. If you scroll down alphabetically under Stored Procedures and expand it, you can see we have several options, and typically I picked the one that says Create Stored Procedure, New Menu. Let me double click on that and then close this Template Explorer. You can see it's very much like the functions. We have a bunch of instructions right here, which I'm going to delete. I don't need them. And of course, I can add author, create date and description. Let me go ahead and put in here Dr. Z. And this is being done October 15, 2022. And this is just a test SPROC. Okay, as you can see, the structure is very much like a function. You create a procedure and you give it a name. You can add parameters as before. Notice the syntax for adding parameters is you can have more than one. You just separate it via commas, and they do get an @ prefix, again, as, begin, end, just like a function. And then you can do things inside of here. So let's go ahead and actually call this create procedure stuffy. And in this case, I am going to have no parameters. So I'll delete both of these lines. Okay, as begin end, set no count on is fine. And over here, I'm going to delete all of this, and I'm simply going to do a select asterisk from sales LT dot customer. That's it. So it's just a selection statement. And I want to make sure that this is targeting AdventureWorks LT 2019, and I'm going to save it by executing it. Command completed successfully. If I were to go ahead and go under my programmability, under stored procedures now, notice I have dbo.stuffy right here, and we're good to go. I should have really saved it probably as sales lt.stuffy, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to create a new query, and to run a stored procedure, I do need to put the exact keyword in here, and I will call basically stuffy and execute this. Now this is turning squiggly red because the cache hasn't updated yet, but you can always go under Edit, IntelliSense, Refresh Local Cache, and it should go away. But you can see it executed perfectly fine, and we received everything that we wanted. So this was a very, very straightforward stored procedure. Now, to write one that is more intelligent, let's go ahead and first open up a new query window, and we want to examine some of these tables in AdventureWorks 2019, the LTU, the lightweight version. I want to take a look at these tables that are actually related to one another down here. We have a product model, we have a product category, we have a product description, we have a product model, product description. So we like to go ahead and first take a look at those to get a feel. So I'm going to write some select statements over here. I'm going to write a select top one from sales LT dot product model, and we actually do just select asterisk from sales LT product model, order by, let's say, I'm going to take a look at product model here, and I'm going to order it by name. Why not? By name, descending. Okay, so better to actually do it by product model ID. So let me change this by product model ID descending. So there you go. We can actually see the very last one. So I can see the very last entry here is product model ID 128 rear brakes. All right, so we'll continue with this format. I'm going to do a select asterisk from sales LT dot product description and order by let's say take a look at the product description one, see what we have in here. I have a product description ID, so let's go ahead and put in product description ID, and I will again do a descending order. So the bottom one shows up on top, and I can see that I have a bunch of entries right here. I have little question marks. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the last one. So I'm going to take a select asterisk from sales LT dot product model product description, which is the table that actually ties these two tables together, and I'm going to order by. Let's check this one out. We have a product model ID, product description ID, and we have a modified date. I'm going to order this one by modified date descending. Let's check this one out. Okay, so I can see the various entries right here. Notice that in this last table, we have a product model ID, which is the key that comes from this table. We have a product description ID, which is a key coming from this table. And then there's this thing called culture, which seems to represent the language. It's English. I'm not sure what AR might be, Arabic, French, etc. So you can see that. What I want to do is actually create a stored procedure. So let me go back to my view, template explorer, and I'm going to double click create a stored procedure, new menu. Let me hide the template explorer, and maybe I'll use the description this time. Let's actually do that. So I'm going to create a stored procedure that updates these three tables, actually adds to these three tables. So adds a new product and description to the database. Okay, again, the author, I'll put in Dr. Z, creation, date, October 15, 2022, and description adds records to three tables, three related tables. I could be more specific right here, of course. So let's get started. I'm going to create procedure, and I'm going to give this a name. I'm going to call it add model and description. It's a good name. Now you can have spaces in these names if you want to. I don't recommend it. If you put spaces, you need to surround them with square brackets like this. Okay, it's not necessary to put them in if you don't have spaces, but you know, if you're gonna do it with spaces, that's what you need to put in there. I'll just leave it in there just in case you look at it and you wonder what it is. Hopefully you remember that it's for potential spaces. Now we are going to have some parameters here. So let me go ahead and put some parameters. We will have 3 of them to be precise. So I'm going to have an at product name, which will be nvarchar 50, comma, at product description, which will be also nvar char. Now this description, if you look it up, it's about 400 characters, so this should be enough. I forgot my comma here. And we will have an at culture, as you recall. And this is just the n char. Remember, the n is short for national, which means that we are allowing Unicode characters. Now, what we can do when we declare these parameters, we can actually assign them a default value. So I'm going to give it a default value of English. And this is how you do it. You just say equals to English. So if one is not provided, this is what it will assume. Let's go ahead and take a look at the various statements that we need to put in. I'm going to put comments for all of these. So I'm going to create two variables to hold the keys of the two inserted rows. What we're going to be doing is to basically add a row to the product model, and then we're going to add a row to product description, and these will actually generate the keys, the primary keys for those entries. We want to hold on to those keys, so we go to this third table that ties them together, and we insert into that. We have those keys that we can get and actually use. So let's go ahead and do that. So to declare a variable, you say declare. Okay, that's all there is to it. And again, @ sign, I'm going to call this product model ID, and it is an integer type. And @ product description ID is also of type integer. All right. Go over here and let's do this step by step. Step 1, we're going to insert into the product model table. So I'm going to say insert into salesLT dot product model. Syntellus is very helpful. And the column that is of interest to us is column name, and we want to insert values, the what is basically provided to us, which is the product name that I declared up here. This is a parameter that's going to be handed to the stored procedure when we actually run it. So that takes care of that. Now, when we do that, key is generated, and by default, you may recall when I was showing you these functions, etc., there was a function called @identity that was a built-in function. In fact, if I go back here to programmability and take a look at these functions again, let's take a look at system functions. I think it was under other functions. There is this @identity. So this little guy, basically, every time a key is generated for any table, it gets dumped into that temporarily. It keeps track of it. So as soon as we've done this insert, a key is generated, populated in the table, and that key, a copy of it is kept into the @identity. We want to basically hold on to that. So I'm going to get the inserted key. So I'm going to say select @product model ID is equal to @identity, and that takes care of it. Now, I do want to point out that you can use select here to do this assignment. You can also use set. So you may see some people use set, and I want you to be aware of that, and that's perfectly fine. Either way, it works. I'm going to stick to my select. So that takes care of step 1. Let's do step 2, which is to basically insert into the product description. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to insert into salesLT dot product description. And what we're interested over here is the description. The rest of the stuff is actually automatically populated. we're going to have values at product description that was handed to us right here, this guy. There we go. All right, again, once this is done, I want to get the inserted key. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say select at product description ID is equal to at identity. And that's going to get that last key that was generated, which is kept in here, assigned to this so we don't lose it. All right. Last step, let's take a look at step 3. We're going to create a new row in the join table. So I'm going to do insert into sales lt dot product model product description. Okay. And the columns that I'm interested in are product model ID, product description ID, which are the two identities that we saved basically, and of course the culture. There we are. And values, well, at product model ID, which is what we saved up here, at product description ID, which is what we saved up here, and of course the at culture that was provided to us when the stored procedure is actually run. So assuming I have no errors in here, I'm going to execute this statement, and it executed successfully. I'm also going to save this one. So I'm going to save this, and I will put it on my desktop right here. I'll call it adding new rows to tables. And I will post this for you guys. Okay. So if this successfully was run, if I go to my AdventureWorks and go to stored procedures and refresh it, I should see this thing show up, and it is. It's add model and description. Beautiful. Let's actually test it. So I am going to bring up my statements right here, and I'm going to go to this window right here and execute add. And again, this is not showing up. So let's do edit IntelliSense, refresh local cache. So this is at model and description. Now recall that I actually have to give this some values. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to say, let's say, new cool product as the first parameter. The description is going to be awesome stuff. And the culture, I'm going to basically leave as blank. And I don't need parentheses, actually. I can just hand it like that. So I'm not going to give it a culture, so it's going to default to English. Let's actually execute this statement. And we can see it says commands completed successfully. Did it? Well, let's check it out. I'm going to run this guy right here. Remember the last time it was 128, but now it's 129, and it says a new cool product was added here. If I go to my product description and execute that, there is the product description ID was incremented, and it says description is awesome stuff. And let's go ahead and do this one. And we can see that we have 129 2011 with a culture of English. Just so we can also test the culture, let me go ahead and add new snappy product, and this is just too good of stuff. You can see I'm not coming up with very creative description, etc. And let's say we actually add a culture manually. Let's say I'm going to add DE for German. Okay, so I'm going to execute this one. It is successful. Going back, Let me go ahead and run the first one. It shows that I have a new snappy product. Go to the second one, just too good of stuff. And the last one, we should see a culture of German, as you can see. So there it is. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please feel free to share with loved ones and friends. Thanks for being a great audience. See you in the next video.